Facebook, DSTV channel 279, also live on 3FM 92.7. And remember that you can connect with us on Facebook. We're live and interactive there. And let's get connected. This evening, members of parliament disappointed in Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta over his failure to appear before the House to address concerns over the domestic debt exchange program. Meanwhile, the former Chief Justice Sophia Kofo has been hitting back at Gabi Asare-Otredakon after he criticized her for picketing against the debt exchange program. Take a listen.
I think the disrespect, the disdain that Ken Ofori-Atta has shown this parliament is just becoming unacceptable.
We'll bring you details of what some of the members of parliament have been talking about with respect to the decision by the finance minister. As they say, it shows gross disrespect to parliament. But exactly what is the situation? Why did the finance minister not appear before parliament as the members of parliament were expecting him to do? We'll tell you why, because we're picking some information with regards to that, and then also why the members of parliament are not too happy about it. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. And the former residents of the Commonwealth Home of the University of Ghana have clashed with the Ghana Police Service over attempts to forcibly repossess their rooms after they were evicted by the university management. We have details of what happened at the Commonwealth Hall of the University of Ghana earlier today, and what the University of Ghana is saying about what happened today with respect to the clash between the students and some personnel of the Ghana Police Service on campus. Stay with us. We have business as well in the package.
And in business, Executive Director of ASA Ben Boachi urges Ghana Revenue Authority to open up on the back taxes claim against oil company Tullow, as its silence is creating the wrong impression on the international front. We'll tell you more shortly.
Juliana Meno-Afo joins us later with all the news in the world of business. We have sports and entertainment as well, and what's trending on social media as well in the next 60 minutes. Stay with us here on 3FM 92.7, also live on 3FM 927 on Facebook, also across all social media platforms and our various affiliates across the country. I am Alfred Ocansey. Let's settle for the details. Let's get into it now. Members of Parliament have expressed disappointment and concerns over the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's failure to show up in the chamber to update legislators about the state of the domestic debt exchange program. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbing, last week summoned the Exchequer to appear today, Tuesday, February 14, to brief lawmakers about the debt exchange program following agitations by some bondholders who have been picketing at the Ministry of Finance premises. According to the Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, the Finance Minister will appear on Thursday. On Thursday, instead of today, the February 6th, that's 6/14, that we're told he was expected to appear. According to the Majority Leader, the new date for his arrival is February 16. But we'll tell you why some members of Parliament have been reacting to this development, as well as the announcement that over 80% of the approval rate for this domestic debt exchange program, as was announced in a statement by the Finance Minister earlier today. I'm going to give you the details of that statement that was issued by the Finance Minister in the early hours of today. But take a listen to some members of Parliament interacting with our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Komla Kluche, about the decision to have him, as the Finance Minister, appear in Parliament on Thursday instead of the earlier announced date of his appearance, which is today, February 14.
I think the disrespect, the disdain that Ken Ofori-Atta has shown this parliament is just becoming unacceptable. And it is becoming unacceptable because this is not the first time. This is not the second time. Neither is this the third time that he disregarded the directive of Parliament. The reason why Parliament invited him to have a discussion with him on the matter that he is dealing with is because of the nagging issues that come with it. It's because of the concern the people of this country have shown over the lack of sympathy and empathy shown to ordinary Ghanaians, particularly individual bondholders.
Even if he were to come today, he has already announced the achievement of 80% meant for the IMF program. So what we need to do still is to understand what actually he has done with the program, because people are still agitating. You find that even today, the senior citizens are still at the Ministry of Finance picketing. His excuse for not coming today is untenable.
Well, I just got this information just this morning. I knew that he was coming here on Tuesday to give us a brief, and I'm sure his coming here would have thrown more light on the statement that was released today. As you mentioned, the statement was a little bit scanty on the details. But of course, the 80% subscription sounds like some good news. Government had targeted about 80% participation. The statement says that it's well a little over 80%. That seems to be some good news. I don't know whether I can call it good news, but in the current situation that we have now, I think anything that will help governments to balance its fiscals, I think is well welcomed. But
that's what some members of parliament interacting with our parliamentary affairs correspondent Komat Pluche about the announcement that we do know now that government, according to the finance minister's statement, got over 80% approval for the domestic debt exchange program. We'll give you details of that statement, but also they've been reacting to now the development that the finance minister is actually expected to appear before parliament on February 16, which is on Thursday, as against the earlier announced date of his appearance before the members of parliament, February 14. Now, according to the information given by the majority leader, Osechi Mensah Bonsu, the new date for his arrival, according to him, has always been February 16. But the members of parliament are saying that information, they got to hear of it today. Meanwhile, government has assured all bondholders who did not participate in the recently rolled out domestic debt exchange program that their coupons and maturing principals will be paid. Now, the assurance was given after the program was brought to a closure on Friday, February 10, amidst protests from some individual bondholders seeking a total exemption. But government announced on Tuesday, February 14, that over 80% of bondholders voluntarily signed up to the program. Meanwhile, the pensioner bondholders returned to the finance ministry to picket. This is inspired of the assurances by the finance minister that the all matured coupons and principals will be paid when they fall due. That is when the due date indeed is reached. But the lead convener for the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edwin Anienchi, has been explaining why they are still picketing and demanding a total exemption from the finance minister himself.
We said from day one that if government exempted pensioners, they could still make the 80% and move ahead. So the idea that if pensioners didn't come under the program will not succeed and Ghana will suffer was not the correct position of the situation. We believe if we are not in, we could still get the 80%. So now we have gotten the 80% and we can move ahead with the IMF program. The minister has given assurances that those who didn't tender in their bonds will be paid their coupons and principal when due. That is already an assurance that the issuer has given from day one when the issuer was issuing the bonds. No issuer issue bonds and do not promise that I will not pay. Every issuer who issues bonds, that's the first promise under the bond, that I will pay you the coupon and the principal when due. So the minister is just restating the old promise that the issuer has already given to the bondholders. if that promise was not there, nobody will ever give you his or her money. Because how can I give you money when you are not going to pay? So that promise is the original promise that the minister is giving. So that is fine that you again give this assurance.
Well, so that's Dr. Edo Ananianchi. He leads the Pensioners Individual Bondholders Forum. Today, they picketed at the premises of the Finance Ministry. Today is day 7 of their picketing, demanding that a total exemption from the domestic debt exchange program. And this, they want the Finance Minister to capture in a statement. That's the demand that they are making. And if you check the details of the statement from the Finance Ministry announcing the participation in the domestic debt exchange program, it reads that the government domestic debt exchange program closed on Friday, February 10, 2023, with over 80% participation of eligible bonds. Now, the government wants to thank the people of Ghana for their forbearance and support throughout these very difficult times. Now, this part of the statement is what it's got a number of people and they're asking further questions. The government wishes to reiterate the following: that from the onset of the domestic debt exchange program to its closure on Friday, February 10, 2023, the participation in the program was voluntary. Having in mind that the entire exercise was voluntary, all throughout the exercise, government always affirmed that crucial fact that individual bondholders are free not to participate. Thus, the right of the individual to self-exempt was never in doubt. However, under the circumstances, government at the same time always make a strong point and a humble appeal to bondholders to participate in the domestic debt exchange program, seeing it has a very critical act of burden sharing in the ongoing national effort to tackle the economic crisis, which is, according to this statement, brought the macroeconomic instability and some guarantee to sustainable growth and prosperity for the people of Ghana. Government, in addition, offered alternatives to encourage individual bondholders and retirees to tender for the new bonds, which would have wider secondary market circulation. The government would like to reassure all individual bondholders who elected not to participate that their coupon payments and maturing principals, like all government bonds, will be honored in line with government fiscal commitments. Joe Jackson, as a financial analyst, is joining us on the telephone for a bit more on this. Mr. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us on Hot Addiction. First of all, take your thoughts about this over 80% participation that the Finance Ministry has captured in the statement that they have put out today.
Good evening, sir, and good evening to all your listeners. Well, if the Finance Minister says it's 80%, who are you? Who am I to say otherwise? Neither do we have. We don't have the numbers. And so we have no basis for judging. So if he says 80%, we have to accept it. After all, he's the one who has to go and face the
IMF?
The IMF, yes. And show that he has reached that sustainability. So if he says he's reached 80%, that's all good. After all, the 80% participation was the figure he set, was the target he set. So that's fine. I think we can move on from that point now.
The other issue there, and I can understand why you've resolved to that position of him going to justify, because there are many people who raise questions about whether this 80% was feasible. Per the numbers available to you, would you expect the Finance Ministry to give some further and better particulars, some details? For instance, when he appears before Parliament on Thursday, or members of Parliament should demand the details of this over 80% that he talks about in this statement?
Well, I think members of Parliament are in order to demand further details. But in any case, I'm not sure I understand the argument whether whether he met 80% or not. Why that is critical. The critical issue is not the percentage. It is whether we have reached debt sustainability or not. If he has reached 90% and you haven't reached debt sustainability, it's moot. Likewise, if we only reach 70% and he manages to reach debt sustainability, I'm happy to live with it. I don't think we should get hung up over this 80% here or 80% there. In any case, the servicing of the debt will show up whether he hits sustainability of debt or not. The IMF are not fools. They will also check. So I'm worried that we are focusing too much on this 80% magical number, which in any case was a target they themselves set at the ministry. None of us set it for them.
Indeed. So for you, the most critical point here is considering the total debt, public debt, as of November we're told about 571.4 billion. If this over 80% would actually reduce the debt to the realms of sustainability or not, that is what the IMF is going to be looking at if these figures are presented before them, correct?
Exactly. So long as we hit debt sustainability, I'm fine.
But what are we in the process going to be sacrificing, or what have we sacrificed to get to this point? And I'm sure that that's at a point, one issue that you raised as well, because if you look at other countries that have gone on this path, I mean, the least period they've got a domestic debt exchange program or any form of a debt restructuring was within a year. I mean, we've got it in record time of what? Almost 4 months. It has its own implications, does it not?
Yes, it has, but nothing succeeds like success. It means that to get there, it means the Ministry of Finance rode roughshod over some constituencies. It means that there was a huge level of arrogance involved. It meant also there was a take it or leave it. But if they have reached an agreement and we have accepted it, well, at this moment, that's all that is required. Let's move on from this. Let's look forward to the IMF quarterly meeting. Let's look forward to a period of stability.
For the individual bondholders who are still picketing and asking for a statement from the finance ministry to announce a total exemption of their bonds from this program, I want you to help us understand, and from our listeners and viewers as well on Facebook, why this option of self-exemption will not do much good to individual bondholders as against the ministry exempting them from the process.
The issue really came down to this. If I self-exempted, there was always the danger that I'll be penalized, my interest will be penalized in one way or the other, where the old bonds were concerned. And so I want you to exempt me and assure me that I will not have any penalty. Now, today's statement is clearly that all those who exempted will receive their payment as due. Of course, there are payments that are past due already, so we are waiting to see that they should be paid. But unless the Ministry of Finance deliberately put out a false statement, we have to assume that at this moment, there will be no penalty for anybody who self-exempted. And as such, whether you self-exempted or you were exempted by the design of the program, you are safe.
But it still boils down to trust. And you are saying that it definitely does depend on what the finance minister or the finance ministry does after this, whether or not those who self-exempted are going to face any what do you describe as penalty or the impact of this self-exempting otherwise will definitely be determined by the finance ministry in the coming days. This is not what's going to be happening. Hello, Mr. Jackson. Hello? Apologies, we lost your Jackson. We'll raise him back on the telephone and conclude on this very quickly. And also find out exactly what these individual bondholders who self-exempted are going to be facing in the coming days, and then also those who are asking for a total exemption by the finance ministry in a statement would also be experiencing in the coming days. It's extremely important. The reason being, this assurance by the ministry in this statement that all maturing bonds will and the principal will be paid at the maturity date. What some of the individual bondholders are asking for, and then you have Martin Pebo and his group also notifying the police, the Ghana Police Service, of picketing in front of the ministries, that's the finance ministry's premises, to demand the payment of bonds that matured about a week ago, some 4.185 billion cedis, 5-year bonds that matured about a year, just about a week ago, that the payment has not been done. And so that's another issue that they're raising. But if you look at the finance ministry statement, they are talking about all maturing bonds going to be paid at the maturity date. Joe Jackson is back on the telephone. Mr. Jackson, I was asking about those who self-exempted. Yeah. Whatever the implications of their decision, obviously we'll be seeing in the coming days. And that's the point you make about what the finance ministry will do in the coming days, is it not?
It is. But remember that the finance ministry has stated categorically in a public written statement that they'll be paid on time. So they've got to pay that which was outstanding already, and then they've got to pay the new ones that come due as and when they come due.
But how about this part? And finally, this part of the statement that the finance minister issued earlier today, that all maturing bonds will be paid at the maturing date. The individual bondholders are asking that the bonds that matured, the 5-year bonds that are matured on the 6th of February, which have not been honored, about 4.185 billion cedis, should be paid. And so they cannot trust this aspect of the statement by the finance minister that indeed all maturing bonds will be paid at a due date. Mr. Jackson.
Yes. Now, first of all, I believe that the reason why that bond was not paid was to try and get more people to subscribe to the program. And remember, at that time, we weren't even sure who was going to subscribe and who was not. Over time, if they claim they paid the 80%, they have no reason not to pay the bonds left. So I have to trust, I have to believe that they are going to pay. Of course, there's a trust gap between the government and the public and the individual bondholders. But we have to at this moment believe that the Ministry of Finance will not deliberately lie in a public statement.
So with this over 80% communication, the finance ministry has no business not to pay or honor the bonds that matured about a week ago?
Definitely.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, thank you so much for your time. We'll see how the coming days will look like. Appreciate it.
Thank you too.
Appreciate it. That's Joe Jackson is a financial analyst joining us on this, and that's another development also with these individual bondholders who yesterday, as Martin Pebbles Group, notified the Ghana Police Service of their intentions to picket at the premises of the finance ministry, demanding that the bonds that matured on February 6th to the tune of from 4.185 billion cedis, 5-year bonds, should be paid. And that's one of the demands they're making, and they're casting doubts on this aspect of the statement by the finance minister that all maturing bonds will be paid at the said date. But the former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo says the president's cousin Gabi Asare-Chidako can call her paranoid regarding the domestic debt action program, but she cares less. She does not appear satisfied with the justifications given by the Finance Ministry for the inclusion of the pensioners in the domestic debt exchange program. Madam Sophia Kofo is back at the premises of the Finance Ministry after triggering an uproar when she showed up to join her peers last Friday, February 10, 2023, that got Gabi Asare-Chidako criticizing her involvement in the picketing. Guess what? She's got a reply for Gabi Asare-Chidako. Take a listen.
He can decide on. He doesn't decide for me what I need to do and what I do not need to do. It's as simple as that. I don't have time for things like that. People like that are not important to me or to my life. It's a disturbance. That's all I've got to say about it.
What do you say to the new directive from government, the new statement coming from government that there is an option, a voluntary option that you can sign on and get your monies paid?
But that whole program is now over, isn't it? Yes, and we chose not to sign on to it. Now, the way things are going, what I sense and what I smell is the creation of two categories of people, or two classes of people. Those who have been exempted by the hey, you two, you want me to lick it? Those who have been exempted by the issuer, I think Doctor was very clear with the distinction. Yes. And then now they are calling those who refused to sign on to the debt exchange, they're calling them self-exempted. No, they simply refused to sign. They just simply want to stand by the original bond that they have with the government. And the word bond is not used as a casual term. Bond means tied to.
My word is my bond.
Yes. And when a government's bond can be tossed up and down the tides like that, flip-flop, that's a serious thing. For me, my problem with this whole thing is the destruction of the image of this nation, and something that is being done which will last for generations. It took a long time before normal Ghanaians would even buy anything that is government, because there was always the suspicion, tomorrow you don't know what will happen. Now they are reintroducing that. All that needs to be done. And Doctor was talking about a letter, simple letter that was written by the association to the minister. Exempt us from your program. I think that's the gist. I always like to distill things to their lowest common denominator. Exempt us, we are pensioners. Up to now, I've seen a copy of the letter. It's dated 7th January. According to Doctor, it was delivered on 10th January. Up to now, there's not even a note. I'm not even saying a letter, a note of acknowledgement. And yet, a few days ago, similar letters that had been written to the minister have been responded to, whereby he has categorically exempted other groups. Why? And when I cannot fathom the reason for something being done in a particular way, especially when it's been done for others, but it's not being done for others, I start getting suspicious. I've grown to be to the age where I've seen it all, and therefore I easily become suspicious. Gabi Asare-Chidako can call me paranoid. I don't care. We're talking about people, we're talking about human beings, we're talking about people who have served this country. and have served well and served hard. Not easy service when you're not a member of government and you're calling yourself a member of government. So that's all I've got to say about this matter. That's why I'm still sitting here.
Okay, is there a mistrust for government where you cannot take government on its own word when it says it will honor your bond?
Paper talks. Paper talks. Empty talk flies with the wind. Paranoid. I don't care. Suspicious. I've grown to be to the age where I've seen it all. And therefore, I easily become suspicious. Gabi Otiridako can call me paranoid. I don't care. We're talking about people. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about people who have served this country and have served well and served hard. Not easy service when you're not a member of government and you're calling yourself a member of government. So that's all I've got to say about this matter. That's why I'm still sitting here.
Okay, is there a mistrust for government where you cannot take government on its own word when it says it will honor your bond?
Paper talks. Paper talks. Empty talk flies with the wind.
As former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo there, a direct reply to the president's cousin, Gabi Asare-Ochudaku, indicating that he can call her paranoid regarding the domestic detention program, but she cares less. She clearly does not appear satisfied with the justifications given by the Finance Ministry for the inclusion of the pensioners in the domestic detention program. She was back at the premises of the Finance Ministry today to picket with the individual bondholders who are pensioners, who are asking for a total exemption from the domestic debt exchange program by the finance minister. The statement issued by the finance minister earlier today does not state anywhere about any indication of their demands or their requests being granted, except to say that they were offered an improved package from the ministry, which they are still, according to Dr. Edouard Anienchi, not too happy about, and they want the total exemption. Now, this has got a number of reactions indeed, especially with that response or the rebuttals the former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo retorted to Gabi Asare-Ochudaku, and the names that, according to her, Gabi put in his tweets. That is what the members of parliament who have also been reacting to this say, that is a gross disrespect from the president's cousin to a lead stateswoman like the former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo. It's some 25 minutes to of the hour, 6 o'clock. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Facebook. You can go on to 3FM 927 on Facebook. We're streaming live what's happening now, and what you heard the former Chief Justice talk about, you can see the video live on Facebook right now when you log on to 3FM 927. Now, the police on today arrested some former residents of the Commonwealth Hall of the University of Ghana, Legon. It followed an attempt by the evictees from the Commonwealth Hall to forcibly repossess their rooms. Now, the students on Tuesday morning packed their bag and baggage from the various halls and moved to the Commonwealth Hall, but were not allowed in. They were actually met by the police at the entrance, resulting in a clash. Now, we have a video as well of what happened there. Now, we're going to show it right now on Facebook when you log on to Facebook, 3FM 927. Now, what we're getting is that the students have an order from the High Court restraining the university management, their assigns or agents, from implementing a new residential policy that assigned rooms in the Commonwealth Hall to only fresh students, to the detriment of the continuing students. That's the in, out, out, in policy. You'll recall that following that clash between Commonwealth and Sabah Hall students, the university management introduced a new policy assigning rooms in the traditional halls to only fresh students. That's level 100 students. The students challenged the decision and obtained a favorable ruling. That is what got the students now, according to what they put out today, going to the university, that's the Commonwealth Hall, to have that hall repossessed. Now, shortly, we will be connecting with the student leadership, giving us details of what happened. But if you go onto Facebook right now, you'll get to see what happened earlier today and why the students took that particular decision, which indeed we got the Ghana Police Service as well that arrived at the premises of the University of Ghana, prevented the students from gaining access to the Commonwealth Hall of the University of Ghana. We'll connect with the student leadership shortly. We'll give you details of what happened. But President Akufo-Addo says prioritizing investment in early childhood education is critical to the education and development of the country. He said education is a equalizer of opportunity and the most effective way of changing the fortunes of a nation. President Akufo-Addo made the observation when he commissioned an ICT KG model school at Kwabenya in the Greater Accra region. The president, supported by the BSW, an international digital group, has so far constructed some 110 ICT KG classrooms across the country. The project is part of government's efforts at integrating ICT into the KG curriculum.
It is an institution which, God willing, will provide world-class early childhood education to our children. Ladies and gentlemen, today's youth running barefoot to school could be a future leader of business, industry, the arts, or government. Education is the equalizer of opportunity. I'm in this position as President of the Republic because of education. Education is the most effective way to change the fortunes of our continent and country and join the group of developed nations and continents.
That's President Akufo-Addo. Now, due to this initiative, government has embarked on the construction of some 350 kindergarten blocks, of which 160 have so far been completed across the country. Now, former Gender Minister Cynthia Morrison has cast doubt on government's measures to eradicate streetism in the country. According to her, until there's a strategy for policy implementation in the area, the menace will continue. Speaking on Sunrise on 3FM, the former minister, who says she has missed being a minister, suggested the inclusion of parents and grassroots players in any strategy to change the narrative of streetism in the country.
Being gender minister,
I do.
what do you miss?
I do. This is the first time I'm talking about it, but I'm surprised it came out so loud. Because do you know why I miss gender? The women in the north that they are branded witches. The program I had for them that I couldn't finish.
Right.
The street children. We had a good program for them. We met them. Look, those children on the streets, if we are not careful, it will take us forever.
Why do you say that?
The mother is in, let's say, Aguna West. I won't mention somebody's constituency. The mother is in Aguna West, a village in Aguna West. They get up in the morning and there's no food on the table. He tries to come to Sweden. Where is he going in Sweden? He gets to Sweden, somebody's telling me, Accra. Accra, okay, he comes to Accra. He doesn't have any relative here. He doesn't know anybody. He's a street ghetto boy who has brought him, so he stays with him. Who feeds him? He has to go and walk around and look for something. He knows that by washing cars, somebody can give him 5 cities. Because there are people, because of religion, they give, okay, yeah. So you drag them, you pick him up from here. We go around at night and pick them up to the shelter. I go to the market myself with my chief director. They'll be there after 2 weeks.
They'll go back.
Jumps over the wall, he's gone. Another person, he's gone. He also goes. So it's a difficult thing. So unless we have a direct, is the only policy that I'll say, a strategy, something, you put them in school, or the parents themselves, you know, think that, how do the parents themselves, like I've said, it's difficult for them. I have to be very frank.
So that's Cynthia Morrison, a former gender minister. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Facebook at 3FM 927. Going to go for business news shortly, but right afterwards we'll head back to the University of Ghana Legon campus with respect to what happened involving some students of the Commonwealth Hall, University of Ghana, and what the university has said. We just received a statement from the authorities of the University of Ghana, Legon, regarding that clash between the students of Commonwealth Hall and the Ghana Police Service earlier today. But let's set up for business. Juliana Menuafo is here.
Thank you for joining us for business. I'm Menu Afol. And in business tonight, Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy has lamented the silence of the Ghana Revenue Authority on the back taxes claim against oil producer Tullow Ghana. Benjamin Boakye says the narrative appears in favor of Tullow on the international front, adding that the development could affect investor interest in the country. He spoke on Biz Brief a while ago.
GRA as a body has the mandate to assess the tax-paying position of companies. You would wish that most of the findings are resolved by both parties. But where there is a disagreement of law, I mean, it's only the law court that can actually. They've done the assessment, and the assessment that they have done proves that Tullow has to pay more money, right? Tullow disagrees with that assessment that has been done. So obviously, some third-party intervention is required. But I'm indicating that, I mean, ordinarily you would wish that these things can be bilaterally resolved between Tullow and GRA, but they failed to do that. So another forum may be required to be able to address those concerns.
Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, Benjamin Boakye there. Moving on, Bank of Ghana's Governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, may have a lot more questions to answer following revelations about the central bank's role in the financing of government's budget deficit. In a recent statement released by the regulator, Dr. Addison, in justifying the bank's action, said the decision was made in the light of the country's dire economic circumstances, but many analysts are worried about the governor's seeming cozy relationship with the Minister of Finance, arguing that his actions may have largely contributed to the current state of affairs.
They opted to go the easy route. Sit down, have these negotiations, muscle people left, 100% risk through a regulator, and don't state it here, and then banks are almost left standing naked and they just have to just dive in, which I think was illegal and improper on the part of the central bank. But the right time will come. In the middle of crisis, people just need stability. When you have stability, we'll all recover, and the right questions will be asked. Oh, Dr. Addison, he knows he has a lot of questions to answer. You can't continue underwriting people's fiscal recklessness. Well, Ken want to borrow much more money. He will want to borrow as much money as it will help him meet his political end. But you, as governor, it's you who pulls the plug. Who lends the most to government? If you know you can't get the money, won't you change your lifestyle?
True.
But anytime government wanted, they got it. What was difficult about that time that made it practically a blank check? Look, we are all economists in different forms.
That was Senyo Husi, convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum. In more news, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has petitioned Parliament to relook at the increase in utility tariffs, following an announcement by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission that utility tariffs went up from February 1st. According to President of the Chamber of Commerce, an increase coupled with the high inflation rates and policy rates will collapse businesses.
Assuming you are paying utility alone on electricity around 57% just from September, it's very difficult for businesses to work. So we are saying that we are petitioning the Parliamentary Select Committee. Parliament was in recess. We are ready to wait for them to call us. And when they call us, we'll go with a team of experts to speak to the issue, to make sure that the whole issue is addressed. Even if the time is not good for us, we don't believe that will encourage any increase further.
And on the international front, Ford has announced plans to cut 1,300 jobs in the UK over the next 2 years, a fifth of its total workforce in the country. It is part of a major restructuring program that will see the car maker cut 3,800 jobs overall across Europe. Thank you for joining us for the business segment. We'll end it here. I am Menu Afo. Do stay tuned.
Benny, thank you. Thank you so much with all the news in the world of business. Remember, there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com for some more. Some 30 minutes to the top of the hour. We're going to head on to... This is a statement just coming through from the University of Ghana, Legon, on what happened earlier today. A clash between the students of the university, that's the Commonwealth Hall, and also some personnel of the Ghana Police Service dispatched to the Commonwealth Hall to prevent the students from having access to the hall after what they describe as a court action preventing the university from carrying out its policy of the in-out, out-in. This is a statement signed by Emilia J. Mensah, who is a registrar at the University of Ghana, Legon. Erased. Reminder, regulations regarding holding of functions, processions and demonstrations. The Management University of Ghana again reminds students that the ban on all student events and gathering is still in place. No events or gathering are to be held without the written approval of the Dean of Student Affairs. Additionally, no outside bodies are permitted to hold functions on the university's campuses without the written approval of the Vice Chancellor or the Registrar or their representatives. These directives will be strictly enforced, and all are hereby cautioned that any infractions will be met with appropriate sanctions. Signed by Emilia J. Mensah and also the Vice Chancellor is in copy, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Provost, Dean of Student Affairs, and then the Legal Counsel as well. So this is a development to what's been happening at the University of Ghana Legon campus, something we're keeping a close eye on how things unfold. Yao Fosulabe is here with all the news in the world of sports. Yao, great evening to you.
Good evening, Alfred. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Champions League returns tonight?
Tonight, Champions League returns. But we'll touch on a few other stories before we get into the UEFA Champions League. And in sports tonight, and we start off with the Paralympic team. And the Ghana Paralympic tennis team has informed 3 Sports in an interview that they received a loan of $1,200 from the Ghana Tennis Federation and 100 Ghana cedis each to travel to Nigeria to compete. They were robbed in Nigeria last night.
Yeah. 3 days without food, and the money that he was given to the players was 100 Ghana cedis each. Me myself, I was giving 100 Ghana cedis. So imagine you are in a car for almost like 3 days, and the money that you are even holding.
The money that you are talking about, is it coming from the Ministry or the Paralympic Committee?
It's coming from our coordinator.
Okay.
Our coordinator, Dr. Henry Labi.
Okay.
Coming from me. And then also, part of it is a loan that was given to us by the Ghana Tennis Federation.
Yeah.
The board. They gave us a loan of $1,200. A loan, not a support, a loan.
Wow.
Which means we have to come and pay back. So this is the kind of ordeal the Ghana Wheelchair Tennis is going through. Last year we were supposed to go to Portugal, Turkey, and we didn't even get visa.
Well, you heard that from the Ghana Paralympics team, that there's a Ghana Paralympic tennis team captain there. To some more stories, and lead commentator of the Ghana Premier League, Nana Dakwa Jesse, has stated that there has been an improvement in the league this season as compared to last season. Now we have reached midpoint in the season after 17 rounds of games played.
I think it's been an improved league from last seasons, especially from what I've witnessed as commentator from the match centers where I've covered games. The level of players gone up. Players are now performing really well. I'm not saying last season players didn't perform, but if you look at how the general performance of players across the various teams have been this season, I think it's been good. Some teams have come into the Premier League and are not really fitting the bill, but others who came in last season are now showing that they came last season to announce their presence, but they're in for real business, like the game we witnessed between Accra Lions and Bibiani Gold Stars. A top-class game on any day, recording 4 goals in thrilling fashion. coaches are now being more tactical. Coaches are now speaking, football language in post-match interviews. And I think it can only get better. Officiating, I can say, has been the best. I think
that's Nana Dakwa Jesse there, who is the lead commentator of the Ghana Premier League. Now, Black Meteors head coach Ibrahim Tanko has given his verdict on the appointment of Chris Hughton as head coach of the Black Stars. He says he's pleased with the choice.
I've witnessed as commentator from the match centers where I've covered games, the level of players gone up.
Chris is, we all know him, and I have a chance to, work with him at the World Cup. Yeah, a very brilliant man, and I hope that he'll get it right, because we need it. Our football is suffering, and I hope that he's the right man to bring us back. Yeah, of course. When we were at the World Cup, and I was with him, with Didi, with George Boateng. So these are the same coaches that is going to take charge. And definitely with under 20, as we said, we have some players who can also play for the senior team, who will bring them down. Example is Fatau, Kamal Din, Afanijan, and the rest. So definitely we are going to work closely, and of course for the better of Ghana football.
That's Ibrahim Tanko there, who's coach of Ghana's Black Meteors, speaking on Chris Hughton, who's now coach of the Black Stars. Now, Man City manager Pep Guardiola has revealed that this is the toughest Arsenal side he will face since taking a Premier League job.
I lost with Barcelona. So
but in that 6 years, is this the toughest Arsenal, the toughest test you'll have faced there?
Seems I am England, yeah, definitely.
Right, so to our final story, and straight to the UEFA Champions League tonight, and all games start at 8 p.m. PSG will take on Bayern Munich. It's a huge one, and exceptionally on Valentine's Day, when Messi is set to head back to Bayern Munich to take on the players at the Allianz Arena who caused him so much pain at Barcelona. And then there's Milan as well, AC Milan, who take on Tottenham Hotspur also later tonight, and Club Brugge will also face Benfica. It is one of the UEFA Champions League matches that would also be played later tonight. So those are your fixtures for tonight in the UEFA Champions League.
Who is your money on, Yao?
My money is on Bayern Munich tonight.
Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
To beat PSG?
Yeah. I don't think PSG have shown a lot of strength this season. Irrespective of getting Messi and everything, I don't think they've shown so much. So,
Mbappe in there.
Mbappe has been injured for a while. Yeah. He's just returning, and so you don't expect him to be at full throttle when they play Bayern tonight. But Bayern have picked up really well in the last few games. They won 3 consecutive games for the first time since November, just last week. So they are really on song, and we just see how it goes.
Great stuff. Let's see how it plays out. Yao, thank you. Yao Foslabi with our news in the world of sports. You can find more on 3news.com. The Asqua Circuit Court in the Ashanti region has granted bail to the Swami Constituency youth organizer of the National Democratic Congress. The accused, Razak Kompa Avolai, was admitted to bail in the sum of 50,000 cedis with 2 sureties. Yes, what's happening now. We've been speaking to Ashanti regional correspondent William Evans Inkum, who's joining us on the telephone. William, thank you so much. Now, we see a lot of the cheers that got almost chaotic outside of the courts. What happened?
Well, so it was something that also occurred last week. Charged party supporters talking about the National Democratic Congress were actually looking for one thing, that is to see the release of Kwampa Razak from police custody. But of course, we all know that it needed to go through some kind of a legal process. That is the court having the sole mandate to decide that. And exactly what happened today. In fact, we have spoken to many of legal luminaries as far as those following this particular case were concerned. Then it came as not as a surprise when the presiding judge, Fred Obitre, granted that particular bail application by the defense counsel. And of course, with 2 sureties, and of course, a sum of 50,000 Ghana cedis. And exactly what the supporters were actually looking forward to, and exactly what they had.
William, thank you so much for this update of what happened earlier in court today. Let's get into entertainment. William Evans Nkum is Ashanti Regional Correspondent and Northern Bureau Chief. Akofa is here with the updates in entertainment.
Yes, on entertainment tonight, rapper Sarkodie reveals he has about 800 unreleased songs. Also, MG Digital share a list of the 10 most followed Ghanaian celebrities on Instagram and on the international scene. South African rapper AKA's memorial and funeral service details announced. Now let's delve in. Rapper Sarkodie has revealed that he has about 800 songs he's yet to release. Speaking in an interview, he explained that many of these were recorded at the time he was putting together his third studio album, Psychology. It was an era where I was recording too much. I knew myself, if I halted that music, it will never come out. From that time till now, I still have almost close to 800 songs unreleased. Sarkodie said the songs are at various stages of completion. Some are done, some have a single verse and chorus, while others have no chorus.
Yeah, it was just an era. I think I was recording too much. Yes, I was recording too much, and I just felt like I knew myself. If I heard that music, it would never come out. Like till now, I have like I swear, like I have from that time till now, I still have almost like. Oh God, I don't want to exaggerate, but I can get close to like 800. Yes, unreleased. Some with one verse, no chorus. Some with chorus. Some full songs. So at that time, it was just me recording a bunch of songs, and I just had to like, put them out there. Because I record a lot. Now my pace is a bit slowed down. But yes, it was just me having a bunch of songs. That era was just me trying to put something out.
Yes, now moving on to some other stories. A list of the 10 most followed celebrities on Instagram in Ghana have been named by MG Digital, and at number 10 is Fela Makafui with 4 million followers. Amelia Brobe, actress, is 4.1 million followers. At number 9, number 8, we've got Mona over there, 4.2 million followers. At number 7, Stonebwoy with 4.2. Sarkodie is taking the 6th position with 5.1 million, and Nanama McBrown also coming through at number 5 with 5.1. At number 4, Nadia Buhari is taking the spot with 5.5 million followers, and Yvonne Nelson at 7.3 million followers at number 3. And number 2, Juliet Ibrahim with 7.3 million followers, and at number 1 is Jap Kiapia with 9.8 million followers. Now, what's exciting about this story, what's interesting about it, is that fans of other celebrities have come out to share their thoughts. You have people from the camp of Shatta Wale asking where is Shatta, and people also saying that Shatta Wale fans are not IG people. They follow him for what he is worth and not only on social media. And so that conversation is also happening on our platform. You can check it out, TV3 Ghana. Finally, before I go, the family of South African rap star Keenan Jared Forbes, popularly known as AKA, has announced details for a memorial and funeral service for the musician. The family, in a statement, acknowledged and thanked everyone for the outpouring of love since their son passed away. They announced AKA's memorial will be open to the public and streamed online as part of celebrating his life and the impact he made within the short time he lived. AKA will be laid to rest in a private provincial ceremony on February 17, 2023. AKA, together with his longtime friend Tebelo Muswani, known as Tip's Friend, was shot dead outside a popular restaurant on Florida Road in Durban, where he was due to perform at a nightclub. That's how we end the entertainment news on Hot Edition. My name is Akofa. Alfred, over to you.
It's 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
That's
we're
the time.
On Valentine's Day edition
Valentine's
of
Day.
Wind Down.
Oh,
absolutely.
goodness me, it's going to be amazing.
It is, because I've got some gifts to give away as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
We're qualified to
You were not. Absolutely not.
Why
You're
is
not
that?
part.
Why?
Disqualified.
Oh, come on. That's not so fair. Anyway, thank you so much. So make a date. 8 p.m. Wind down. Before we go, the death toll from earthquakes in Turkey and Syria has gone past 37,000. Turkish authorities say almost 32,000 people have been killed in that country, while more than 6,000 people are dead in Syria, according to the United Nations and the Syrian government. 10 international organizations for migration trucks carrying humanitarian assistance have passed through the Bab al-Salam crossing into northwestern Syria from Turkey. That's the development there. And the latest coming in just some seconds ago is that the new death toll has toppled 38,000. We're keeping an eye on that and be updating you as well. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Hot Edition. On behalf of the rest of the team, as always, appreciate your company. I'm Alfred Ocansey. The drive continues with DJ Faculty